Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is a story that takes place in the world of King Arthur. And at the beginning of our story, we're not reading the entire thing, so it gives us a little bit of a background as to what is going to happen when we start reading the story. As the poem begins, Arthur and his knights are gathered to celebrate Christmas and the New Year with feasting and revelry. In the midst of their festivities, an enormous man who is entirely green bounds through the door. Splendid that night Aaron stood in a splay of green, and green too was the mane of his mighty destrier. Fair fanning tresses enveloped the fighting man's shoulders, and over his breast hung a beard as big as a bush. The beard and the huge mane burgeoning forth from his head were clipped off clean in a straight line over his elbows, and the upper half of each arm was hidden underneath, as if covered by a king's chaperon closed round the neck. So imagine this guy, this knight who is entirely in green, shows up. He has this big mane of hair and beard, and it goes down to his elbows. The mane of the marvelous horse was much the same, well crisped and combed and carefully pranked with knots, threads of gold interwoven with the glorious green, now a thread of hair, now another thread of gold. The tail of the horse and the forelock were tricked the same way, and both were bound up with a band of brilliant green, adorned with glittering jewels the length of the dock, then caught up tight with a thong in a crisscross knot, where many a bell tinkled brightly, all burnished gold. So this guy shows up and he's completely green, and he's with his horse, who is also completely green. So we're seeing a theme here, right? The Green Knight from the title of the story. So monstrous a mount, so mighty a man in the saddle, was never once encountered on all this earth till then. His eyes like lightning flashed, and it seemed to many a man that any man who clashed with him would not long stand. So not only is this guy green, but he is a very intimidating man. It looks like he could strike you down with a single blow of his sword. But the huge man came unarmed, without helmet or hauberk, no breastplate or gorget or iron cleats on his arms. He brought neither shield nor spear shaft to shove or to smite, but instead he held one hand a bough of the holly that grows most green when all the groves are bare, and held in the other hand an axe, immense and unwieldy, a pitiless battle blade terrible to tell of. So this guy walks in, and in one hand he has an axe, and the other hand, he has a little spring of holly with him. And the story told us at the beginning that it's Christmas time and the New Year. So if we think about what's around at that time, boughs of holly. King Arthur stared down at the stranger before the high dais and greeted him nobly, for nothing on earth frightened him. And he said to him, "Sir, you are welcome in this place. I am the head of this court. They call me Arthur. Get down from your horse, I beg you, and join us for dinner. And then whatever you seek, we will gladly see to." But the stranger said, "No, so help me God on high, my errand is hardly to sit at my ease in your castle. But friends, since your praises are sung so far and wide, your castle the best ever built, people say, and your barons the stoutest men in steel armor that ever rode steeds, most mighty and most worthy of all mortal men, and tough devils to toy with in tournament games. And since courtesy is in flower this court, they say, all these tales in truth had drawn me to you at this time." So King Arthur, he is, this very, very chivalrous, very noble king. This odd-looking stranger walks in. King Arthur says, "Welcome. You can join us. We're feasting right now and celebrating." But the knight says, "No, okay, I don't want to do that. But I have heard tales of how great your court is. You may be assured by this holly branch I bear that I come to you in peace, not spoiling for battle. If I'd wanted to come in finery fixed up for fighting, I have back at home both a helmet and a hauberk, a shield and sharp spear that shines like fire, and other weapons that I know pretty well how to use. But since I don't come here for battle, my clothes are mere cloth. Now, if you are truly as bold as the people all say, you will grant me gladly the little game that I ask as my right." So he says, "Look, I don't want to join you, but thank you. I've heard great things about this court. All I want is for you to participate in a little game with me." Arthur gave him an answer and said, "Sir noble knight, if it's a duel you're after, we'll furnish you your fight." "Good heavens, I want no such thing. I assure you, sire, you've nothing but beardless babes around this bench. If I were hast in my armor and high on my horse, you haven't a man that can match me. Your might is so feeble. Arthur's like, are you trying to like fight with us? And the Green Knight says, oh, no, 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 no. Plus, it wouldn't be a fair fight. Like, I'm a better fighter than any one that you have around this table right now. And so, all I ask of this court is a Christmas game. For the Yule is here and New Year's, and here sit young men. If any man holds himself here in this house so hardy, so bold in his blood, and so brainless in his head that he dares to stoutly exchange one stroke for another, I shall let him have as my present this lovely gizmier, this axe as heavy as he'll need to handle as he likes, and I will abide the first blow, bare-necked as I sit. If anyone here has the daring to try what I've offered, leap to me lightly, lad. Lift up this weapon. I give you the thing forever. You may think it your own. And I will stand still for your stroke, steady on the floor, provided your honor my right, when my inning comes to repay. But let the respite be a 12-month and a day. Come now, my boys, let's see what any here can say. So this is a very odd game that the Green Knight proposes to Arthur and his knights who are feasting right now. He says, I want to play a little game with my axe. And in fact, I'll go first. I just need a volunteer. You can stand up and you can swing this axe at me. And then I get to do the same thing to you in 1 year and a day. Everyone's looking around like, what? Like, I'm sorry, what? So he wants me to swing an axe at him. Somehow he thinks he'll survive. But then a year, if he does survive, a year and a day from now, he gets to swing an axe at me. Okay, who wants to participate in that game? If they were like stones before, they were stiller now. Every last lord in the hall, both the high and the low, the stranger on his destrier stirred in the saddle, and ferociously his red eyes rolled around. Okay, so that's creepy. This guy is all green and he has red eyes. He lowered his grisly eyebrows, glistening green, and waved his beard and waited for someone to rise. When no one answered, he coughed, as if embarrassed, and drew himself up straight and spoke again. What? Can this be King Arthur's court? Said the stranger, whose renown runs through many a realm, flung far and wide. What has become of your chivalry and your conquest, your greatness of heart and your grimness in grand words? Behold the radiance and renown of the mighty Round Table, overwhelmed by a word out of one man's mouth. You shiver and blanch before a blow's been shown. So he starts laughing at them because when he proposes this game, it's dead silent, which makes sense because, again, who wants to play a game with an axe? So they're all dead silent. But because no one takes him up on this offer, he starts taunting them. Oh, is this King Arthur's great court that I've heard all about? These brave knights that go on all these conquests, but no one's willing to play a game with me? And with that he laughed so loud, and the lord was distressed. In chagrin his blood shot up in his face and limbs so fair. More angry was he than the wind, and likewise each man there. And Arthur, bravest of men, decided now to draw near. And he said, By heavens, sir, your request is strange. But since you have come here for folly, you may as well find it. I know no one here who's aghast of your great words. Give me your grisimier, then, for the love of God, and I'll gladly grant you the gift you have asked to be given. So none of the knights volunteer. King Arthur's like, okay, well, someone has to volunteer. So he stands up and he volunteers to play this game with the Green Knight. Lightly the king leaped down and clutched it in his hand. Then quickly that other lord alighted on his feet. Arthur lay hold of the axe, he gripped it by the handle, and he swung up over him sternly, as if to strike. The stranger stood before him, in stature higher, by a head or more than any man in the house. Sober and thoughtful he stood there and stroked his beard, and with patience like a priest he pulled down his collar, no more unmanned or dismayed by Arthur's might than he'd be if some baron on the bench had brought him a glass of wine. Then Gawain at Guinevere's side made to the king a sign. I beseech you, sire, he said, let this game be mine. So Arthur is ready to swing this axe at the Green Knight, and finally one of his knights stands up, Sir Gawain. And Sir Gawain says, no, Arthur, like, let me play this game instead of you. Now, if you, my worthy lord, said Gawain to the king, would command me to step from the dais and stand with you there, that I might without bad manners move down from my place, though I couldn't, of course, if my liege lady disliked it, I'd be deeply honored to advise you before all the court, for I think it unseemly, if I understand the matter, that challenges such as this churl has chosen to offer be met by your majesty, much as it may amuse you, when so many bold-hearted barons sit around the bench. No man under heaven, I am sure, are more hardy in will or better in body on the fields where battles are fought. I myself am the weakest, of course, and in wit the most feeble. My life would be the least missed if we let out the truth. Only as you are my uncle have I any honor, for accepting your blood I bear in my body slight virtue. And since this affair that's befallen us here is so foolish, and since I have asked for it first, let it fall to me. If I've reasoned incorrectly, let all the court say without blame. The nobles gather round, and all advise the same. Let the king step down and give Sir Gawain the game. Sir Gawain steps up and he's like, look, I don't have much to offer here. I'm not your best warrior. I'm not the most intelligent. I am your nephew, though. So please let me do this for you. So he's very humble about all this. He is King Arthur's nephew. He says, let me do this instead of you. Then our reading skips forward a little bit, and that's what the italicized portion is. It summarizes things for you. Arthur grants Gawain's request to take on the Green Knight's challenge. The Green Knight asks Gawain to identify himself, and the two agree on their pact. Gawain then prepares to strike his blow against the Green Knight. On the ground, the Green Knight got himself into position, his head bent forward a little, the bare flesh showing, his long and lovely locks laid over his crown, so that any man there might note the naked neck. Sir Gawain laid hold of the axe, and he hefted it high, his pivot foot thrown forward before him on the floor. And then swiftly he slashed at the naked neck. The sharp of the battle blade shattered asunder the bones, and sank through the shining fat and slit it in two, and a bit of the bright steel buried itself in the ground. The fair head fell from the neck to the floor of the hall, and the people all kicked it away as it came near their feet. Sir Gawain, with this axe, okay, he hits true, and he beheads the Green Knight. And the Green Knight's head is just rolling across the floor there, and it's coming near people, and they're kicking it away with their feet because no one wants this guy's head anywhere near them. The blood splashed up from the body and glistened on the green, but he never faltered or fell for all that. But swiftly he started forth upon the stout shanks, and rushed to reach out where the king's retainers stood, caught hold of the lovely head, and lifted it up, and leaped to his steed, and snatched up the reins of the bridle, stepped into stirrups of steel, and, striding aloft, he held his head by the hair high in his hand, and the stranger sat there as steadily in his saddle as a man entirely unarmed, although he was headless on his steed. He turned his trunk about, that baleful body that bled, and many were faint with fright when all his say was said. Okay, so this is scary. Sir Gawain beheads this guy, but the guy's body never topples down. After the axe is swung, the body walks towards the head that's on the ground and picks it up by the hair. And then he goes and he gets on his horse. So he's basically like a headless horseman right now, and he's holding his head in his hand. He held his head in his hand, up high before him, addressing the face to the dearest of all those on the dais, and the eyelids lifted wide, and the eyes looked out, and the mouth said just this much as you may now hear. Okay, so how creepy is that? He's holding this head in his hands, and the head starts talking to everybody. Look that you go, Sir Gawain, as good as your word, and seek till you find me as loyally, my friend, as you've sworn in this hall to do, in the hearing of the knights. Come to the Green Chapel, I charge you, and take a stroke the same as you've given, for well you deserve to be readily requited on New Year's morn. Many men know me, the Knight of the Green Chapel. Therefore, if you seek to find me, you shall not fail. Come or be counted a coward, as is fitting. Then with a rough jerk he turned the reins and haled away through the hall door, his head in his hand, and fire of the flint flew out from the hoofs of the foal. To what kingdom he was carried no man there knew, no more than they knew what country it was he came from. What then? Then the king and Gawain there laugh at the thing and grin, and yet it was an affair most marvelous to men. So this guy says, okay, don't forget, a year and a day from now, it's your turn. Meet me at the Green Chapel on New Year's morning. And then he rides off out. At the end of the year approaches, Gawain leaves on his quest to find the Green Chapel and fulfill his pledge. So it goes forward here. A year has passed. It's time for Gawain to meet up with this guy. He could just say, okay, I'm not going to meet up with him. But Gawain is one of King Arthur's knights. He's a noble guy, so he is going to go find this Green Knight. After riding through wild country and encountering many dangers, he comes upon a splendid castle. The lord of the castle welcomes Gawain and invites him to stay with him and his lady for a few days. The lord proposes that he will go out to hunt each day while Gawain stays at the castle. At the end of the day, they will exchange what they have won. While the lord is out hunting, the lady attempts to seduce Gawain. Gawain resists her, however, and on the first 2 days accepts only kisses, which he gives to the Lord at the end of each day in exchange for what the Lord has gained in the hunt. On the third day, Gawain continues to resist the lady, but she presses him to accept another gift. So Gawain has set out for this Green Chapel, and along the way, he comes upon this castle. And he decides to stay there for a few days and kind of rest before continuing on his journey. While he's there, the lord of the castle proposes a game to him. He says, okay, let's do an exchange every day. Whatever I get when I'm out hunting, I will exchange for you whatever you get while you're hanging out here at the castle. Gawain's like, okay, that's kind of a weird game, but all right, let's do that. So the first 2 days, the lady of the castle approaches him and gives him a kiss. So that's what he receives on the first 2 days. Then it says that's what he gives to the Lord, right? Kiss on the cheek each night, because that's what he received that day. And then it says on the third day, Gawain continues to resist the lady, but she presses him to accept another gift. She held toward him a ring of the yellowest gold, and standing aloft on the band, a stone like a star, from which flew splendid beams like the light of the sun. And mark you well, it was worth a rich king's ransom. But right away he refused it, replying in haste, my lady, I can hardly take gifts at the moment, having nothing to give. I'd be wrong to take gifts in turn. She implored him again, still more earnestly, but again he refused it, and swore on his knighthood that he could take nothing. Grieved that he still would not take it, she told him then, if taking my ring would be wrong on account of its worth, and being so much in my debt would be bothersome to you, I'll give you merely this sash that's of slighter value. So she tries to give him this incredibly beautiful ring. And he's like, I can't accept that from you. I don't have anything to give you in return. And he continues to reject the ring. So finally she's like, okay, if you won't accept my ring, then accept this sash that I have. She swiftly unfastened the sash that encircled her waist, tied around her fair tunic, inside her bright mantle. It was made of green silk and was marked of gleaming gold, embroidered along the edges, ingeniously stitched. This too she held out to the knight, and she earnestly begged him to take it, trifling as it was, to remember her by. But again he said no, there was nothing at all he could take, neither treasure nor token, until such time as the Lord had granted him some end to his adventure. And therefore I pray you, do not be displeased, but give up, for I cannot grant it, however fair or right. I know your worth and price, and my debt's by no means slight. I swear through fire and ice to be your humble knight. Do you lay aside this silk, said the lady then, because it seems unworthy? As well it may. Listen, little as it is, it seems less in value, but he who knew what charms are woven within it might place a better price on it, perchance. For the man who goes to battle in this green lace, as long as he keeps it looped around him, no man under heaven can hurt him, whoever may try, for nothing on earth, however uncanny, can kill him. So she offers him this sash, and it's this beautiful sash that's like green and gold. And he's like, I still can't accept this. But then she says, but this is no ordinary sash. Whoever wears this sash cannot be harmed. Well, that gives him pause because he's thinking, I'm about to have to go meet up with this Green Knight who's going to swing an axe at my head. So it might be nice to wear a sash that supposedly will keep you from harm. The knight cast about in distress. It came to his heart this might be a treasure indeed, when the time came to take the blow he had bargained to suffer beside the Green Chapel. If the gift meant remaining alive, it might well be worth it. So he listened in silence and suffered the lady to speak. And she pressed the sash upon him and begged him to take it. And Gawain did, and she gave him the gift with great pleasure, and begged him for her sake to say not a word, and to keep it hidden from her lord. And he said he would, that except for themselves, this business would never be known to a man. He thanked her earnestly, and boldly his heart now ran. And now a third time she leaned down and kissed her man. When the Lord returns at the end of the third day, Gawain gives him a kiss, but does not reveal the gift of the sash. So here we have Gawain acting not very knightly here. Okay, he's not being honest. The Lord comes back from hunting, and Gawain only gives him a kiss. He does not give him the sash. And their deal was they were supposed to give each other whatever they had received that day. But Gawain is a little liar here, and he wants the sash for himself. On New Year's Day, Gawain must go meet the Green Knight. Wearing the green sash, he sets out before dawn. Gawain arrives at a wild, rugged place where he sees no chapel but hears the sound of a blade being sharpened. Gawain calls out, and the Green Knight appears with a huge axe. The Green Knight gives Gawain, who, with pounding heart, bows his head to take his blow. Quickly then the man in the green made ready, grabbed up his keen ground axe to strike Sir Gawain. With all the might in his body he bore it aloft, and sharply brought it down as if to slay him. Had he made it fall with the force he first intended, he would have stretched out the strongest man on earth. But Sir Gawain cast a side glance at the axe, as it glided down to give him his kingdom come, and his shoulders jerked away from the iron a little, and the Green Knight caught the handle, holding it back, and mocked the prince with many a proud reproof. You can't beat Gawain, he said, whose thoughts so good, a man who's never been daunted on hill or dale. For look how you flinch for fear before anything's felt. I never heard tell that Sir Gawain was ever a coward. I never moved a muscle when you came down. In Arthur's hall I never so much as winced. My head fell off at my feet, yet I never flickered. But you tremble at heart before you're touched. I'm bound to be called a better man than you then, my lord. So here we are. Sir Gawain goes to the Green Chapel to meet the Green Knight. Okay, he's ready for the axe to come down on his head, but as it's coming down, he flinches a little bit. I mean, as one would if an axe was coming towards you. He flinches. The Green Knight stops the axe from hitting him, and he mocks him like, "Oh, I thought you were supposed to be this brave, honorable knight, but you can't hold still. I held still when you swung the axe at me." Said Gawain, "I shied once, no more. You have my word. But if my head falls to the stones, it cannot be restored. But be brisk, man, by your faith, and come to the point. Deal out my doom if you can, and do it at once. For I'll stand for one good stroke, and I'll start no more, until your axe has hit, and that I swear." "Here goes, then," said the other, and heaves it aloft, and stands there waiting, scowling like a madman. He swings down the sharp, then suddenly stops again, holds back the axe with his hand before it can hurt. And Gawain stands there stirring not even a nerve. He stood there still as a stone on the stalk of a tree that's wedged in rocky ground by 100 roots. So here it goes. The Green Knight swings the axe again, and this time Sir Gawain doesn't flinch, but the knight stops the axe before it cuts off Gawain's head. "Oh, merrily then he spoke, the man in green. Good, you've got your heart back. Now I can hit you. May all that glory the good King Arthur gave you prove efficacious now, if it ever can, and save your neck." Enraged, Sir Gawain shouted, "Hit me, hero! I'm right up to here with your threats. Is it you that's the cringing coward after all?" "Whoa!" said the man in green. "He's wrathful too. No pauses then. I'll pay up my pledge at once, I vow." He takes his stride to strike, and lifts his lip and brow. It's not a thing Gawain can like, for nothing can save him now. He raises that axe up lightly and flashes it down, and that blinding bit bites in at the knight's bare neck. But hard as he hammered it down, it hurt him no more than to nick the nape of his neck. So it split the skin, the sharp blade slit to the flesh through the shiny hide, and red blood shot to his shoulders and spattered the ground. The third time the knight swings the axe and he hits Sir Gawain on the neck, but it does not behead him. Okay, it does nick him to where he does bleed, but it does not behead him. And when Gawain saw his blood where it blinked in the snow, he sprang from the man with a leap to the length of a spear. He snatched up his helmet swiftly and slapped it on. shifted his shield into place with a jerk of his shoulders, and snapped his sword out faster than sight, and said boldly, "And mortal born of his mother that he was, there was never on earth a man so happy by half. No more strokes, my friend. You've had your swing. I've stood one swipe of your axe without resistance. If you offer me any more, I'll repay you at once, with all the force and fire I've got, as you will see. I take one stroke, that's all, for that was the compact we made, arranged in Arthur's hall, but now no more for me." The Green Knight remained where he stood, relaxing on his axe, settled the shaft on the rocks, and leaned on the sharp end, and studied the young man standing there, shoulders hunched, and considered that staunch and doughty stance he took, undaunted yet, and in his heart he liked it. And then he said merrily, with a mighty voice, with a roar like rushing wind, he reproved the knight. "Here, don't be such an ogre on your ground. Nobody here has behaved with bad manners towards you, or done a thing except as the contract said. I owed you a stroke, and I've struck. Consider yourself well paid. And now I release you from all further duties. If I'd cared to hustle, it may be, perchance, that I might have hit somewhat harder, and then you might well be cross. The first time I lifted my axe, it was light-hearted sport. I merely feinted, and made no mark, as was right. For you kept our pact of the first night with honor, and abided by your word, and held yourself true to me, giving me all you owed as a good man should. I fainted a second time, friend, for the morning you kissed my pretty wife twice, and returned me the kisses. And so for the first 2 days, mere feints, nothing more severe. A man who's true to his word, there's nothing he needs to fear. You failed me, though, on the third exchange, so I've tapped you here. That sash you wear by your scabbard belongs to me. My own wife gave it to you, as I ought to know. I know too of your kisses and all your words of my wife's advances, for I myself arranged them. It was I who sent her to test you. I'm convinced you're the finest man that ever walked this earth. As a pearl is of greater price than dry white peas, so Gawain indeed stands out above all the other knights. But you lacked a little, sir. You were less than loyal. But since it was not for the sash itself or for lust, but because you loved your life, I blame you less. So the Green Knight reveals himself to be the lord of the castle where Sir Gawain had just stayed. And he says, "Look, this is what happened. I stopped my axe the first time I swung it at you because you were loyal and true to me on that first day. My wife gave you a kiss, okay, and so what you exchanged to me was the right thing. Second day, same thing. That's why I stayed my axe the second time and didn't hit you with it, because you were loyal and true on that second exchange as well. But for the third day, that third exchange, you lied to me. You did not give me the sash that my wife gave to you. And yes, I understand the circumstances because you wanted to save your life. And besides that, you were above reproach, right? You didn't go further than a kiss on the cheek with my wife, right? Even though she like tried to make her advances on you, like you stopped, like you were honorable and noble. But you did lie to me about the sash, which is why I nicked you in the neck on my third swing." Sir Gawain stood in a study a long, long while, so miserable with disgrace that he wept within, and all the blood of his chest went up to his face, and he shrank away in shame from the man's gentle words. The first words Gawain could find to say were these: "Cursed be cowardice and covetousness both, villainy and vice that destroy all virtue." He caught at the knots of the girdle and loosened them, and fiercely flung the sash at the Green Knight. There's my fault. The foul fiend vex it. Foolish cowardice taught me, from fear of your stroke, to bargain covetous and abandon my kind, the selflessness and loyalty suitable in knights. Here I stand, faulty and false, much as I feared them, both of them, untruth and treachery. May they see sorrow and care. I can't deny my guilt. My works shine none too fair. Give me your goodwill, and hence I'll beware. So here Gawain feels awful. Okay, he feels like he's let King Arthur down, the other knights down. He hasn't lived up to the name of being a great knight. At that, the Green Knight laughed, saying graciously, "Whatever harm I've had, I hold it amended, since now you've confessed so clean, acknowledging sins, and bearing the plain penance of my point. I consider you polished as white and perfectly clean, as if you'd never fallen since you first were born." So the Green Knight is not holding against anything against Sir Gawain. It's like, you acknowledged what you did wrong, and so I forgive you. And I give you, sir, this gold embroidered girdle, for the cloth is as green as my gown. Sir Gawain, think on this when you go forth among great princes. Remember our struggle here. Recall to your mind this rich token. Remember the green chapel. And now, come on, let's both go back to my castle and finish the New Year's revels with feasting and joy, not strife. I beg you, said the Lord, and said, as for my wife, she'll be your friend, no more a threat against your life. No, sir, said the knight, and seized his helmet, and quickly removed it, thanking the Green Knight. I've revelled too well already, but fortune be with you. May he who gives all honours honour you well. And so they embraced and kissed and commended each other to the Prince of Paradise, and parted then in the cold. Sir Gawain turned again to Camelot and his lord, and for the green man of green he went wherever he would. So at the end of this story, Sir Gawain learns a lesson. Okay, he learns that he needs to stay true to the code of the knights: be chivalrous, be honorable, be brave, be noble. Okay, and don't tell a lie. And the Green Knight goes back to his castle to perhaps test a person on another day.